You know what changed everything for me? 7 minutes. Just 7 minutes every single morning. That's all it took to completely transform my reality, my health, my relationships, my entire life. And I'm not talking about some magic pill or some secret technique that only a few people know about. I'm talking about something so simple, so accessible, that when I first heard about it, I almost dismissed it. 7 minutes seemed too easy, too simple to create any real change. But that's exactly where I was wrong. See, most of us wake up every single morning, we do the same thing. We open our eyes, and within seconds, we're already thinking about our problems. We're thinking about that bill we have to pay, that difficult conversation we need to have, that pain in our lower back, that person who upset us yesterday. And before we even get out of bed, we've already become the same person we were yesterday. We've already activated the same neural networks, released the same chemicals, and created the same emotional state. And then we wonder why our life never changes. But here's what I learned, and this is going to change everything for you if you really get this. The moment you open your eyes in the morning, you have a choice. You have a small window of opportunity where your brain is moving from the subconscious state of sleep into the conscious state of being awake. And in that window, you're more suggestible, more open, more able to create new neural pathways. This is the moment where change becomes possible. This is the moment where you can literally begin to rewire your brain and recondition your body to a new mind. So what did I do? I started spending 7 minutes every morning before I did anything else, before I checked my phone, before I thought about my to-do list, before I let the old self come rushing back in. I sat on the edge of my bed, or sometimes I stayed lying down, and I did something radical. I refused to get up as the same person who went to sleep. I made a decision that I was going to create my day instead of letting my day create me. Now, let me break this down for you because this is based on real neuroscience, real biology, real quantum physics. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's happening in your external environment and what you're thinking about in your internal environment. When you think a thought, when you really focus on something with intention and elevated emotion, your brain starts firing new neural networks. It starts creating new circuits. And when you do this over and over again, those circuits become hardwired. They become automatic. They become who you are. Every single one of us has about 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. Sounds like a lot, right? But here's the problem. 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts we had yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that. We're thinking the same thoughts, which lead to the same choices, which lead to the same behaviors, which create the same emotions, which drive the same thoughts. It's a loop, a neural loop that keeps us stuck in the past, keeps us being the same person, living the same life, getting the same results. But those 7 minutes were my chance to interrupt that loop, to step outside of that program, to become someone new. And here's how I did it. First, I would sit there and I would close my eyes. I would take a few slow breaths, nothing fancy, just breathing in through my nose, out through my mouth, letting my body relax. And then I would start to become aware of my thoughts. Not judging them, not getting involved in them, just watching them like watching clouds pass by in the sky. And every time I would notice a thought about a problem, about something I had to do, about who I was yesterday, I would gently bring my attention back to my breath, back to the present moment, back to the now. This is harder than it sounds. Your mind is going to resist this. Your body is going to want to get up and start the day. You're going to feel uncomfortable. That's actually a good sign. That discomfort is the old self, the old programming trying to pull you back into the familiar. But if you can move through that discomfort, if you can stay present with yourself for just a few minutes, something incredible starts to happen. Your brain waves start to slow down. You move from beta brain waves, which is that analytical, stressed, survival state that most of us live in all day long, into alpha brain waves. And when you're in alpha, you're in a more suggestible state. You're in a state where the door between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind starts to open. And this is where the magic happens. This is where you can start to reprogram yourself. So after I would quiet my mind, after I would get present, I would then start to think about who I wanted to become. Not what I wanted to get, not what I wanted to have, but who I wanted to be. I would ask myself, if I was going to create my life today, what would be the best version of myself? How would that person think? How would they act? How would they feel? What kind of energy would they bring into the world? And then, and this is the crucial part, I wouldn't just think about it intellectually. I would feel it. I would generate the emotion of already being that person. If I wanted to be more confident, I would sit there and I would create the feeling of confidence in my body. If I wanted to be more abundant, I would create the feeling of abundance. If I wanted to be more loving, I would create the feeling of love. And I would sit there and I would bathe in that emotion for several minutes. Now, why is this so powerful? Because your body doesn't know the difference between an experience that's happening to you in your external reality and an experience that you're creating in your internal reality. When you're creating these elevated emotions, when you're feeling gratitude before you have anything to be grateful for, when you're feeling abundant before you have any evidence of abundance, when you're feeling worthy before anything in your life has changed, your body believes it's already living in that reality. And when your body believes it, it starts to change its chemistry. It starts to release different hormones, different neuropeptides, different neurotransmitters. You're literally changing your internal state. And when you change your internal state, you change your external reality, because you can't create a new future while you're living in the emotions of the past. You can't create wealth while you're feeling lack. You can't create health while you're feeling sick. You can't create love while you're feeling unworthy. The feeling is the magnetic charge. The thought is the electrical charge. And when you combine the thought of your future with the elevated emotion of already living it, you create a new electromagnetic signature. You broadcast a different frequency. And that frequency is what draws the new experiences, the new opportunities, the new people into your life. So during those 7 minutes, I would sit there and I would create my future self. I would think the thoughts that person would think. I would feel the emotions that person would feel. I would see through their eyes, act through their behavior. And I would do this with such focus, with such intention, that my brain and my body couldn't tell the difference between what I was thinking about and what was actually happening. To my nervous system, it was real. To my cells, it was real. To my energy field, it was real. And then something started to happen in my life. Little things at first. I would wake up and I would feel different. More energy, more clarity, more peace. I would go through my day and I would notice that I was responding to situations differently. Things that used to trigger me, that used to make me anxious or angry or frustrated, they just didn't have the same effect anymore. It's like I had upgraded my operating system, had installed new software. Then bigger things started to change. Opportunities would show up that seemed like coincidences. The right person would call at the right time. The right idea would pop into my head. Doors that were closed for years would suddenly open. And I'm not saying this was magic. I'm saying that when you change your energy, when you change your state of being, you start to show up differently in the world. You start to make different choices. You start to see possibilities that you were blind to before. You become a vibrational match to a different reality. But let me explain this another way. Most people are living their lives in survival mode. They're living in stress. They're worried about their health, their money, their relationships, their safety. And when you're in survival, when you're living in those stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, your brain is scanning the environment for danger. You're focused on matter. You're focused on your body, on objects, on things, on people, on places in time. And when you're focused on matter, you're living as a materialist. You're waiting for something outside of you to change how you feel inside of you. But what if you could reverse that formula? What if you could change how you feel inside of you before anything changes outside of you? That's exactly what those 7 minutes allowed me to do. Instead of waiting for my healing to feel grateful, I felt grateful first. Instead of waiting for the relationship to feel love, I felt love first. Instead of waiting for the success to feel abundant, I felt abundant first. And when you do this, when you change your energy before your reality changes, you move from living as a victim of your life to being the creator of your life. You move from being an effect to being a cause. You move from being at the mercy of your environment to being the one who's creating your environment through your thoughts, your feelings, your intentions. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, this sounds too simple. How can 7 minutes change my entire life? I have real problems. I have real challenges, and I get it. I've been there. But here's what you need to understand. It's not about the 7 minutes. It's about what you're doing in those 7 minutes. It's about training your mind and your body to work together. It's about breaking the habit of being yourself. It's about remembering that you are not your past. You are not your current circumstances. You are not your problems. You are the consciousness that's aware of all of those things. And consciousness has the power to create. Every great spiritual tradition, every ancient wisdom teaching, every modern quantum physicist will tell you the same thing. We are not living in a fixed, solid, unchangeable reality. We're living in a field of infinite possibilities. And the way you collapse those possibilities into your reality is through your observation, through your attention, through your energy. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy, and where you place your energy is what you're creating more of in your life. So if you wake up every morning and the first thing you do is think about your problems, you're placing your attention on your problems, you're placing your energy on your problems, and what do you get? More problems. But if you wake up every morning and you spend 7 minutes placing your attention on the future you want to create, placing your energy on the person you want to become, placing your focus on the feelings you want to experience, you're literally programming your destiny. And here's the beautiful part. The body is the unconscious mind. The body doesn't know the difference between an actual experience creating the emotion and an emotion being created by thought alone. So when you're sitting there in those 7 minutes, when you're creating those elevated states, when you're feeling joy for no reason, gratitude for no reason, love for no reason, your body starts to change ahead of the actual experience. Your body moves into the future, your cells start to respond, your genes start to express differently, your immune system gets stronger, your heart becomes more coherent, your brain becomes more balanced. I started to notice that my health improved. Issues that I had struggled with for years started to resolve themselves. My sleep got better, my energy increased, my mental clarity sharpened. And I wasn't doing anything except changing my inner world. I wasn't taking any special supplements. I wasn't following any extreme diet. I was simply showing my body what it felt like to be healthy, to be whole, to be thriving. And my body said, oh, this is what we're doing now? Okay, let me match that. Because your body is always listening to your thoughts. Your body is always responding to your emotions. Every thought you think, every feeling you feel is instructing your cells. It's sending signals to your genes, is creating chemical reactions in your body. You are literally the placebo. You have the power to heal yourself, to change yourself, to transform yourself through your own consciousness. But most people never use this power because they're stuck in the past. They're stuck in the familiar. They're stuck being the same person who wakes up and thinks the same thoughts and feels the same feelings and makes the same choices. And then they blame their circumstances. They blame their past. They blame other people. They say, I can't change because of what happened to me, because of my genetics, because of my age, because of my situation. But I'm here to tell you that none of that is true. I've seen people heal from terminal diseases. I've seen people transform their finances from complete lack to total abundance. I've seen people in toxic relationships either heal those relationships or attract completely new partners. I've seen people who were depressed for decades wake up one day feeling joy and purpose. And you know what the common thread was? They all stopped living in the past. They all stopped being a victim. They all started using those first few minutes of their day to become someone new. See, change doesn't happen by trying to control every aspect of your external world. Change happens when you go inside and you start to work on yourself at the level of mind and body. When you start to break the emotional addiction to the familiar. When you start to fire and wire new neural circuits. When you start to condition your body to a new mind, to a new emotion, to a new future. And this is what those 7 minutes became for me. They became my daily practice of creation, my daily ritual of becoming. Every single morning, without fail, I would sit down and I would do this work. Some mornings it was easy. I would drop into that state quickly. I would feel those elevated emotions strongly. Other mornings it was a battle. My mind would wander. My body would be restless. I would feel resistance, but I kept showing up because I knew that every time I did this, I was laying down new circuits. I was building new roads in my brain. I was creating new patterns in my body. And over time, those 7 minutes started to affect the other 23 hours and 53 minutes of my day. I started to notice that I was naturally more positive. I was naturally more creative. I was naturally more present. The new person I was becoming in those 7 minutes started to become who I actually was. It wasn't just a meditation practice anymore. It was my new personality, my new identity, my new state of being. This is what true transformation looks like. It's not about having one peak experience and then going back to being the same person. It's about doing the work every single day, little by little, thought by thought, feeling by feeling, until the new you becomes the automatic you, until you don't have to try anymore, until being abundant is just who you are, until being healthy is just who you are, until being loving is just who you are. And the science backs this up completely. Neuroplasticity shows us that we can rewire our brains at any age. Epigenetics shows us that we can change our genetic expression through our thoughts and emotions. Heart coherence research shows us that when we create elevated emotions, our heart sends signals to our brain that create new neural pathways. Quantum physics shows us that the observer affects the observed, that consciousness plays a fundamental role in creating reality. So when you sit down for those 7 minutes every morning, you're not just doing some fluffy visualization. You're engaging in a legitimate, scientifically validated practice of neurological, biological, and energetic transformation. You're taking control of your autonomic nervous system. You're moving from a sympathetic state of stress to a parasympathetic state of creation. You're shifting from high beta brainwaves of survival to alpha theta brainwaves of possibility. And in that state, in that coherent state, you have access to your subconscious mind. You have access to the autonomic nervous system. You have access to the operating system that's running most of your life. And you can start to install new programs. You can start to remove old programs. You can start to debug the software that's been keeping you stuck. Think about it this way. Your subconscious mind is like the hard drive of a computer. It's running all the programs in the background. It's managing your breathing, your heartbeat, your digestion, your immune system. But it's also running your beliefs, your habits, your automatic behaviors, your emotional reactions. And most of those programs were installed when you were young, when you were in a highly suggestible state, when you were downloading information from your environment without any filters. So you might have programs running that say, I'm not good enough. Money's hard to come by. Life is a struggle. I can't trust people. The world is dangerous. And these programs are running automatically, creating your reality every single day without you even being aware of them. That's why you can consciously want one thing but keep creating something different, because your conscious mind wants success. But your subconscious mind has a program that says success is dangerous or that you don't deserve it. But when you do those 7 minutes every morning, when you get into that alpha theta state, you can access those programs. You can become conscious of them. And once you're conscious of them, you can change them. You can say, that's not who I am anymore. That's not what I believe anymore. That's not how I'm going to respond anymore. And then you install the new program. You think the new thought. You feel the new emotion. You rehearse the new behavior mentally until it becomes automatic, physically. This is how you break the habit of being yourself. This is how you stop being defined by your past and start being defined by your future. This is how you move from a survival state to a creative state. And it all starts with those 7 minutes. Now, let me tell you what happens when you don't do this. When you wake up and immediately grab your phone, immediately start thinking about your problems, immediately jump into the stress and drama of your life, you're basically saying to your body and your brain, we're going to be the same person we were yesterday. We're going to activate the same neural networks, release the same chemicals, live in the same emotional state, and your body becomes addicted to those emotions. Your body becomes addicted to the stress, the anger, the sadness, the guilt, the fear. Because every time you have an emotional reaction, your body gets a chemical rush. And your body starts to crave that rush. It starts to seek out situations that will give it that familiar feeling. That's why people stay in toxic relationships. That's why people stay in jobs they hate. That's why people keep creating the same problems over and over again. Their body is addicted to the emotion of their past. But when you do those 7 minutes, when you create new emotions, elevated emotions, you're giving your body a new chemical rush. You're giving it a taste of what it feels like to be joyful, to be grateful, to be abundant, to be free. And over time, your body starts to prefer those emotions. It starts to crave those emotions. This is how you become a match to your new reality, not by trying to force things to happen in your external world, but by changing your internal world first, by becoming the energy of your future before it manifests, by being someone different before your life looks different. And I can tell you from my own experience, this works. 7 minutes seemed like nothing when I started. 7 minutes seemed too small to make any difference. But those 7 minutes added up. 7 minutes a day is 49 minutes a week. That's over 3 hours a month. That's over 40 hours a year. 40 hours of reprogramming your mind. 40 hours of reconditioning your body. 40 hours of creating new neural pathways, new emotional states, new possibilities. And what happened in my life after consistently doing this? Everything changed. I changed. My relationships changed. My health changed. My finances changed. My entire experience of life changed. Not because the world suddenly decided to be nice to me, but because I stopped being a victim to my circumstances. I stopped waiting for something to happen to change how I felt. I changed how I felt, and then things started to happen. I stopped looking for happiness outside of me. I created happiness inside of me, and then my life started to reflect that happiness. I stopped trying to control every detail, and instead I focused on controlling the one thing I could actually control: my thoughts, my emotions, my energy, my state of being. And this is available to everyone. This is not some special gift that only a few people have. This is your birthright as a conscious human being. You have a brain that can think. You have a body that can feel. You have the power to direct your attention. You have the ability to create elevated emotions. You have everything you need right now to start changing your life. Question is, will you do it? Will you give yourself those 7 minutes? Will you commit to showing up for yourself every single morning before you check your email, before you scroll through social media, before you let the world tell you who you are? Will you take that time to remember who you really are, who you want to become, what kind of life you want to create? Because here's the truth. Nobody else is going to do this for you. No pill, no person, no external circumstance is going to make you into the person you want to be. That's an inside job. That's your work. That's your responsibility. And the beautiful thing about that is that it means you have all the power. You're not dependent on anyone or anything else. You have the ability to change right now in this moment by making a different choice. But if you woke up tomorrow and instead of immediately thinking about everything you have to do, everyone you have to be, all the problems you have to solve, you just sat there for 7 minutes and you asked yourself, who do I want to be today? How do I want to feel today? What kind of energy do I want to bring into the world today? And then you created those feelings in your body. You generated those emotions. You became that person before you even got out of bed. Can you see how that would change everything? Can you see how that would change the way you show up in your relationships, in your work, in your health, in your life? You would stop being reactive. You would stop being at the mercy of your emotions. You would stop being run by your past. You would become the conscious creator that you were always meant to be. And let me tell you something else. When you start doing this, when you start showing up differently, the people in your life are going to notice. Some of them are going to be inspired. They're going to ask you what you're doing, what's changed, why you seem different. And other people are going to resist it. They're going to try to pull you back into the old you, the familiar you, the predictable you, because your change threatens their comfort zone. Your evolution challenges their stagnation. But you have to stay committed. You have to keep doing those 7 minutes no matter what, even when it feels like nothing is happening, even when your old self comes back, even when you have a bad day, you just keep showing up. You keep doing the work. You keep choosing your future over your past. You keep selecting who you want to be over who you've been. And I promise you, if you do this consistently, you will start to see changes, small ones at first. Maybe you'll feel more energy. Maybe you'll feel more peace. Maybe you'll notice you're not as reactive. Maybe you'll have a creative insight. Maybe an opportunity will appear. And then those small changes will build, they'll compound, they'll snowball. And before you know it, you'll look back at who you were 6 months ago, a year ago, and you won't even recognize that person. That's what happened to me. I look back at who I was before I started this practice, and it's like looking at a different person. That person was living in survival. That person was stressed, anxious, worried about the future, regretful about the past. That person was stuck in patterns that weren't serving them. That person was waiting for life to change. And then I made a decision. I made a decision that I was going to change, that I was going to do whatever it took to break free from my past, from my limitations, from my old self. And those 7 minutes every morning became my tool for transformation, my daily practice of becoming, my ritual of creation. So I want to challenge you right now. I want to challenge you to try this for the next 30 days. Just 7 minutes every morning. That's all. You don't have to believe it will work. You don't have to understand all the science. You just have to do it. You just have to show up. You just have to be willing to invest 7 minutes in becoming someone new. Set your alarm 7 minutes earlier. Sit on the edge of your bed or stay lying down. Close your eyes, take a few slow breaths, quiet your mind, get present, and then start to think about who you want to become. Start to feel the emotions of already being that person. Start to create your future in your mind and body right now, in this moment, before anything in your external world has changed. Do this every single day for 30 days and watch what happens. Watch how you feel. Watch how you show up. Watch what starts to change in your life. And if you miss a day, don't beat yourself up. Don't fall into guilt or shame. Just start again the next morning. This is not about perfection. This is about practice. This is about repetition. This is about training your brain and body to work together to create something new. And here's what I know. If you commit to this, if you really do this work, you're going to look back 30 days from now and you're going to be amazed. You're going to wonder why you didn't start sooner. You're going to realize that you had the power all along to change your life. You just needed to know how to access it. You just needed to know that 7 minutes was enough, that you were enough, that the power was already inside of you. Because it is. The power is inside of you right now. The ability to heal, to change, to transform, to create. It's not outside of you. It's not in some pill or some program or some person. It's in your consciousness. It's in your awareness. It's in your ability to think new thoughts and feel new emotions and become someone new. Every single day is a new opportunity. Every single morning is a new beginning. You get to choose, you get to decide, you get to create. And it all starts with those 7 minutes. 7 minutes of investing in yourself. 7 minutes of choosing your future over your past. 7 minutes of becoming the person you were always meant to be. So don't wait. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait until your life is less busy. Don't wait until you feel motivated. Start tomorrow. Start right now. Make the commitment, make the decision. Choose yourself, choose your future, choose to change. Because the truth is, nothing is going to change until you change. Your life is a reflection of who you're being. If you want a different life, you have to become a different person. And you become a different person by thinking different thoughts, feeling different emotions, and making different choices. And the best time to do that is first thing in the morning, before the world gets a hold of you, before you fall back into the old patterns, before you become the same person you were yesterday. Those 7 minutes are your opportunity, your chance, your moment to step into your power and create something new. To break free from the chains of the past, to stop being a victim and start being a creator, to stop living in survival and start living in creation, to stop waiting for your life to change and start changing your life. This is what I did. 7 minutes every morning. That's all it took. And everything changed. My health changed. My relationships changed. My abundance changed. My entire experience of being alive changed. And I'm not special. I'm not different from you. I just made a decision and I stuck with it. I showed up every single day. I did the work. I became someone new. And now it's your turn. Now it's time for you to take those 7 minutes to invest in yourself, to commit to your transformation, to become the person you know you're capable of being, the person who's healthy, abundant, loving, joyful, creative, powerful, free. That person is not in the future. That person is available right now, in this moment, in those 7 minutes. You just have to choose to become them. You just have to feel what it feels like to be them. You just have to think the thoughts they would think and feel the emotions they would feel and be the energy they would be. And when you do that, when you make that choice every single morning, everything changes. Not all at once, not overnight, but slowly, consistently, powerfully. The new you starts to replace the old you. The new life starts to replace the old life. The new reality. And one day you'll wake up and you'll realize that you're not the same person anymore. You'll realize that you've transformed. You'll realize that those 7 minutes, those simple 7 minutes, changed everything. They changed your brain. They changed your body. They changed your energy. They changed your life. So take those 7 minutes every single morning. No excuses, no exceptions, just you, your breath, your thoughts, your emotions, your power, just you becoming someone new, just you creating your future, just you remembering that you are not your past, you are not your circumstances, you are not your limitations. You are infinite consciousness having a human experience, and you have the power to create whatever life you choose. 7 minutes. That's all it takes. 7 minutes to change your neural pathways, 7 minutes to recondition your body, 7 minutes to shift your energy, 7 minutes to become someone new, 7 minutes to start living the life. Will you take those 7 minutes? Will you show up for yourself? Will you choose to change? The power is in your hands. The moment is now. The future is waiting. All you have to do is sit down, close your eyes, and become the person you want to be. Everything changes when you change, and you can change right now. In 7 minutes, starting tomorrow morning, starting with one breath, one thought, one feeling, one choice. The choice to become someone new. The choice to create something different. the choice to live a life that's not limited by your past, but created by your future. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your opportunity. Take it, use it, transform yourself, and watch as everything in your life transforms with you, because it will. That's the law. That's how it works. Change your inner world, and your outer world has no choice but to change with it. 7 minutes. That's the secret. That's the practice. That's the path. And it changed everything for me, and it will change everything for you too. All you have to do is begin. Now, let me share something else with you that's absolutely critical to understand. When you start this practice, you're going to encounter resistance, not from the world around you, but from within yourself. Your body is going to protest. Your mind is going to come up with 1,000 reasons why you don't have time, why this won't work for you, why you should just skip it today. And this resistance, this is actually the most important moment. This is where real transformation happens. You see, that resistance is your old identity fighting to survive. It's the old neural networks firing, trying to pull you back into the familiar. Your body has been conditioned to a certain chemical state for years, maybe decades. It's comfortable there. It knows that territory. And now you're asking it to change, to feel something different, to be someone new. Of course it's going to resist. That's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. That's a sign that you're doing something right. When I first started, there were mornings when I would sit down and my mind would be like a wild horse. Thoughts racing everywhere. Planning, worrying, remembering, analyzing, and I would get frustrated. I would think, I can't do this. My mind is too busy. This meditation stuff isn't for me. But then I realized something profound. The practice isn't about having a quiet mind. The practice is about bringing your attention back when it wanders. That's the exercise. That's what builds the new circuits. Every time you notice your mind has wandered and you bring it back, you're strengthening your ability to focus. You're building your power of attention. You're training yourself to be the master of your thoughts instead of the slave to them. And this skill, this ability to direct your attention at will, this is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Because wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. And wherever your energy flows, that's what grows in your life. Think about how much of your attention throughout the day is being stolen from you. Social media is designed to grab your attention. News media is engineered to capture your attention. Advertisements are crafted to hold your attention. Even the people in your life, sometimes they're pulling at your attention. Everyone wants a piece of your attention because they understand consciously or unconsciously that attention is power. Attention is energy. Attention is creative force. But when you do those 7 minutes every morning, you're taking your attention back. You're reclaiming your power. You're deciding where your energy goes. You're choosing what you're going to create with your focus. And this changes everything about how you move through your day. You stop being reactive. You stop being pulled in every direction. You stop giving your power away to whatever is loudest or most demanding. You become centered. You become present. You become intentional. And here's something else that happens when you do this consistently. You start to develop what I call the observer. You start to become aware of yourself thinking. You start to notice your automatic reactions before you react. You start to catch yourself in old patterns before they fully engage. And this awareness, this consciousness, this is what gives you the power to change in real time. Most people are so identified with their thoughts and emotions that they don't realize they have a choice. A thought pops up and they believe it. An emotion arises and they become it. Someone says something and they react automatically. But when you develop the observer through that morning practice, you create space between stimulus and response. And in that space, you have freedom. In that space, you have choice. In that space, you have power. I remember one day, a few months into my practice, something happened that would have normally triggered me into anger. Someone cut me off in traffic. And in that moment, I felt the anger starting to arise. I felt my body preparing for the reaction. But then something different happened. I noticed it, I observed it, and in that moment of observation, I had a choice. I could follow that automatic reaction, or I could choose a different response, and I chose differently. I let it go. I stayed calm. I stayed in the energy I had created that morning. And that might seem like a small thing, but it was huge because that was evidence that I had changed. That was proof that the new circuits were firing. That was confirmation that I wasn't the same person anymore. And every time you make a different choice, every time you respond instead of react, every time you choose the new you over the old you're strengthening those new personality more automatic. This is how lasting change happens. Not through willpower, not through forcing yourself, but through becoming someone different at the level of identity. When you're no longer trying to control your anger, but you're genuinely not an angry person anymore. When you're not trying to be confident, but confidence is just who you are. When you're not trying to be abundant, but abundance is your natural state. That's when you know the work has taken root. And the beautiful thing is that this change compounds over time. The first week might feel like nothing is happening. The second week, you might notice small shifts. By the third week, other people start to comment that something is different about you. By the fourth week, you start to see tangible changes in your circumstances. By 3 months, your life. But none of this happens if you don't start. None of this happens if you don't commit. None of this happens if you don't show up for yourself every single morning and do those 7 minutes. Because here's the thing about transformation. It requires repetition. It requires consistency. It requires you to keep choosing the new you, even when you don't see immediate results. Your brain needs repetition to form new circuits. Your body needs repetition to memorize new emotions. Your energy field needs repetition to stabilize at a new frequency. And that repetition happens in those 7 minutes every morning. That's where you're laying down the foundation. That's where you're building the structure. That's where you're creating the template for who you're becoming. So don't give up after a few days because you don't see dramatic changes. Don't quit after a week because your circumstances look the same. Trust the process. Trust the science. Trust that every time you sit down and do this work, something is changing inside of you. Circuits are rewiring. Chemistry is shifting. Energy is reorganizing. And eventually, the inner changes will manifest as outer changes. They have to. That's the law. Your outer world is always a mirror of your inner world. Your life is always a reflection of your state of being. Change your state of being and your life must change. It's not optional. It's not random. It's cause and effect. It's quantum physics. It's neuroscience. It's spirituality. It's all the same truth expressed in different languages. You are the creator of your reality. And those 7 minutes every morning are when you consciously step into that role and create